To Sell is Human. The Surprising Truth About Moving Others, by Daniel H. Pink. Introduction. There's an old photograph in the American imagination. It's a black and white image of a man in a hat, holding a heavy sample case, walking up the front steps of a suburban home. He rings the doorbell, a friendly but determined smile on his face, ready to offer a free vegetable scrubber just to get his foot in the door. He is the Fuller Brush Man. For most of the 20th century, he was an icon. Brigades of these salesmen roamed middle-class neighborhoods, becoming such a fixture that in the Disney cartoon of the Three Little Pigs, the big bad wolf disguised himself as a Fuller Brush Man to trick his way inside. They were everywhere. And then, almost overnight, they were gone. In 2012, the Fuller Brush Company filed for bankruptcy. Around the same time, Encyclopedia Britannica, famous for its own door-to-door salesman, stopped printing its books. It felt like the final, quiet note in a long funeral march for the age of the salesman. In a world where you can buy anything with a click, where you can research a product on your phone while standing in the store, who needs a salesperson anymore? They seem like relics of a bygone era, like telephone operators or milkmen. It's a good story. It makes sense. But what if it's completely wrong? Today, we're going to explore a profound idea from the brilliant mind of Daniel H. Pink. It's an idea that will change the way you see your daily interactions, your career, and even your own identity. Pink looked at the data, at the trends, at the very fabric of our modern lives, and he came back with a startling conclusion. The salesman isn't dead. In fact, there are more of us than ever before. By the end of our time together, you will see the world differently. You will understand that whether you're a student, an artist, a doctor, or an engineer, you are in the moving business. And more importantly, you will discover that this isn't something to fear or despise. It's something to embrace, because the ability to move others, to sell, in its truest sense, is fundamentally, beautifully, human. Book summary. Let's start with a simple question. How do you spend your day? A few years ago, Daniel Pink asked himself that same question. He sat down and cataloged everything he did for 2 weeks, the meetings, the calls, the emails, the conversations. He wasn't a salesman in the traditional sense. He didn't sell cars or insurance. He was a writer. But when he stepped back and looked at the data of his own life, a surprising picture emerged. He spent a huge portion of his time trying to convince, persuade, and influence other people. He was coaxing an editor to change a story idea, persuading a business partner to join a project, even cajoling his son to take a shower. He was, in a very real sense, selling. And his next thought was the one that sparked this entire book. You probably are too. Pink discovered a stunning fact from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. 1 out of every 9 American workers is in traditional sales. That's more than 15 million people who earn their living trying to get someone else to make a purchase. America has more salespeople than factory workers. The sales force outnumbers the entire federal workforce by more than 5 to 1. That alone is surprising. But it's only the beginning of the story. The real shock comes from what the other 8 out of 9 workers are doing. Pink commissioned a first-of-its-kind study to find out, and the results were staggering. People who weren't in sales reported spending about 40% of their time at work in what he calls non-sales selling. That's 24 minutes of every hour spent persuading, influencing, and moving others. Teachers are selling students on the importance of learning. Doctors are selling patients on the benefits of a difficult treatment. Entrepreneurs are selling funders on a vision. We're all pitching colleagues, persuading our bosses, and guiding our kids. Like it or not, we're all in sales now. So, how did this happen? How did we all end up in the moving business? Pink points to 3 massive shifts in our world: entrepreneurship, elasticity, and EdMed. First, entrepreneurship. The very technology that was supposed to kill the salesman has, ironically, turned more of us into sellers. Think about it. Platforms like Etsy and eBay have allowed millions of artisans and small operators to set up their own digital storefronts. Kickstarter allows anyone with an idea to pitch it directly to the public. Today, you can carry an entire storefront in your pocket with a smartphone. This rise of small entrepreneurs, of people working for themselves, means that more of us have to wear every hat in the business, and one of those hats is always the selling cap. Second, elasticity. In the old world, jobs were highly specialized. Accountants did accounting, engineers did engineering, and salespeople did the selling. But today's world is too volatile and fast-moving for that. Companies are flatter, and they need employees with elastic skills, the ability to stretch across different roles and boundaries. An engineer can't just write code. She has to understand customer needs and pitch her ideas to the team. A manager can't just give orders. She has to persuade her people to buy into a new strategy. No matter your job title, your role now almost certainly includes a portion of non-sales selling. And third, EdMed. This is Pink's term for the two fastest-growing sectors in the economy, education and healthcare. What is the core function of a teacher or a doctor? It's moving people. A teacher moves students from a state of not knowing to a state of knowing. A physical therapist moves a patient from a state of injury to a state of health. These jobs aren't about transactions, they're about helping others improve their lives, and that requires a deep and sophisticated ability to move them. So here we are. We're all in sales. But for many of us, that phrase leaves a bad taste in our mouths. When Pink asked people the first word that came to mind when they thought of sales, the answers were, well, not pretty. Words like pushy, slimy, sleazy, dishonest, and manipulative dominated. The image that popped into most people's minds was a used car salesman in a cheap suit, ready to say anything to make a deal. But here's the crucial insight. That negative reputation has almost nothing to do with the act of selling itself. It has everything to do with the conditions under which selling used to take place. For most of history, the world of commerce operated under a simple principle, caveat emptor. Buyer beware. This was because the seller almost always had more information than the buyer. This is a concept called information asymmetry. The car salesman knew the car was a lemon, but you didn't. The real estate agent knew about the leaky roof, but you didn't. In a world of information asymmetry, the seller has all the power, and that power can easily lead to deception and trickery. But that world is gone. The internet, the smartphone, and customer reviews have destroyed information asymmetry. Today, a buyer can walk onto a car lot knowing more about the vehicle's invoice price, repair history, and competitor deals than the salesperson herself. The balance of power has shifted. We've moved from a world of caveat emptor to a world of caveat venditor. Seller beware. In this new world, the old, pushy tactics don't just feel wrong, they're wildly ineffective. Honesty, fairness, and transparency are no longer just virtuous, they are the only viable path. When your customer can find out everything about you and your product, and then tell the entire world about their experience on social media, the low road is a perilous path indeed. This fundamental shift changes everything. It means the old ABC of sales, always be closing, that aggressive mantra from movies like Glengarry Glen Ross, is dead. Pink tells us we need a new set of ABCs for this new era. And these new ABCs are not just for salespeople, they are for all of us. They are the new fundamentals of how to be effective in the business of moving others. A is for attunement. Attunement is the ability to bring yourself into harmony with other people and with the context you're in. It's about seeing the world from their perspective. And the research on this is fascinating. It starts with a simple test. Imagine I ask you to draw a capital letter E on your forehead with your finger. Go ahead, try it. Did you draw it so that you could read it, or so that someone looking at you could read it? This simple act reveals your natural tendency for perspective taking. Pink reveals 3 principles of attunement. The first is to increase your power by reducing it. Studies show that when people feel powerful, their ability to see another's perspective plummets. They become more likely to draw that self-oriented E. When you assume you're in a position of lower power, you naturally become more attuned. You listen more carefully, you observe more closely, and you see the world through their eyes. The second principle is to use your head as much as your heart. We often confuse attunement with empathy, feeling with someone. Empathy is wonderful, but in moving others, perspective taking, understanding what someone is thinking, is often more effective. Research on negotiations shows that negotiators who focus on what the other side is thinking, rather than just what they're feeling, get better outcomes for everyone. And the third principle is to mimic strategically. Humans are natural mimics. We unconsciously mirror the posture, gestures, and speech patterns of those we're with. Scientists call it the chameleon effect. Studies show that when salespeople subtly mimic their customers, those customers rate the interaction more positively and are more likely to buy. The key is to be strategic by being human. It's a sign of trust and connection. And who is best at attunement? It's not who you think. For years, we've believed that extroverts make the best salespeople. But study after study has shown that the correlation between extroversion and sales performance is almost zero. The most successful people at moving others are not the loudest, most outgoing people in the room. They are the ambiverts. These are people who fall in the middle of the introversion-extroversion spectrum. They know when to speak up and when to shut up. They know how to balance talking with listening. They are the most skilled attuners. And the good news is, that's most of us. B is for buoyancy. Anyone who tries to move others, in any capacity, must confront what one veteran salesman called an ocean of rejection. Your idea gets shot down. Your request is denied. The door is slammed in your face. Buoyancy is about how you stay afloat in that ocean. It has 3 components: what you do before, during, and after an attempt to move others. Before the encounter, the key is interrogative self-talk. The old model of motivation was to pump yourself up with affirmations. I am the greatest. I can do this. But research shows a more effective technique. Instead of making a statement, ask a question. Instead of saying I can nail this presentation, ask yourself, can I nail this presentation? Why does this work? A question, unlike a statement, elicits an active response. It forces your brain to scan for answers, for strategies, for reasons. You start to think, yes, I can, because I've prepared, I know the material, and I have a great story to tell. It summons your intrinsic, autonomous reasons for doing something, which are far more powerful motivators than simple, rah-rah declarations. Just think of the cartoon character Bob the Builder. He doesn't say, "We will fix it." He asks, "Can we fix it?" And his team shouts back, "Yes, we can." During the encounter, the key is to manage your positivity ratio. Groundbreaking research by psychologist Barbara Fredrickson has shown that for people to flourish, they need to experience positive emotions in a roughly 3-to-1 ratio over negative ones. This doesn't mean being a Pollyanna. Appropriate negativity is crucial. It keeps us grounded in reality. But positive emotions, like joy, interest, and gratitude, broaden our perspective and make us more creative and open to possibility. In a sales encounter, this positivity can be contagious, making the other person less adversarial and more willing to find a solution that benefits both sides. And after the encounter, especially after a rejection, The key is your explanatory style. This is the work of legendary psychologist Martin Seligman. He found that people explain bad events to themselves in different ways. Those with a pessimistic style see setbacks as permanent, this will never change, pervasive, this is going to ruin everything, and personal, it's all my fault. This style is debilitating. But those with an optimistic explanatory style, the ones who stay buoyant, see setbacks as temporary. This is just a rough patch. Specific, this one client was a bad fit, and external, as he was probably having a bad day. In a landmark study of insurance salespeople, Seligman found that those with an optimistic style sold 37% more insurance and were half as likely to quit in their first year. Optimism isn't a hollow sentiment, it is a catalyst for persistence and resilience. C is for clarity. The final quality of the new ABCs is clarity. This is the capacity to help others see their situations in fresh, more revealing ways. In the old world of information asymmetry, the salesperson's job was to be a problem solver. You had a problem, they had the information and the solution. But in today's world, if you know what your problem is, you can often solve it yourself with a quick search online. The greatest value now lies not in solving problems, but in finding them. The most effective movers are those who can identify hidden problems and help people see challenges they didn't even know they had. Think of the research on retirement savings. People are bad at saving for the future because we see our future self as a stranger. Trying to solve the problem with more financial information doesn't work. The breakthrough came when researchers identified the real problem, the disconnect between our present and future selves. The solution? They showed people digitally aged photos of themselves. Suddenly, that future stranger became real. And people who saw their older selves allocated more than twice as much money to their retirement accounts. That's the power of clarity. So how do we provide clarity? Pink gives us 5 powerful frames we can use. A frame is a way of presenting information that helps people see it in a new light, always by answering the question, compared to what? 1. The less frame, we think more choice is better, but it's often paralyzing. A famous study showed that a jam display with 24 options resulted in far fewer sales than a display with only 6. By restricting choices, you provide clarity. Less is more. 2. The experience frame. People get far more lasting satisfaction from buying experiences than from buying material goods. So, don't just sell a car. Sell the freedom of the open road, the family road trips, the memories it will create. 3. The label frame. How you label something profoundly influences how people see it. In an experiment, when the same game was called the Wall Street game, only a third of people cooperated. When it was called the community game, 2/3 of people cooperated. A simple label can frame an entire interaction. 4. The blemished frame. This one is counterintuitive. Adding a minor negative detail to an otherwise positive description can actually make it more persuasive. Why? Because it makes the positive information more salient and makes you seem more trustworthy. 5. The potential frame. We often think we should sell ourselves based on our past accomplishments. But research shows that people are often more intrigued by potential than by achievement. The uncertainty of potential makes it more interesting. Attunement, buoyancy, and clarity. These are the new foundations for how to be. But Pink doesn't stop there. He also shows us what to do. This involves 3 crucial skills: the pitch, the ability to improvise, and the commitment to serve. The old elevator pitch is outdated. In a world of short attention spans and easy access, we need a new repertoire. Pink offers 6 successors. The one-word pitch. What's the one word you want people to associate with your idea? For Google, it's search. For President Obama's 2012 campaign, it was forward. The question pitch. As Ronald Reagan showed with his famous, "Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago?" A question is often more persuasive than a statement because it gets people to think and come up with their own reasons for agreeing. The rhyming pitch. Rhymes boost processing fluency, making an idea feel more true and memorable. Think of Johnny Cochran's "If it doesn't fit, you must acquit." The subject line pitch. Every email is a pitch. Effective subject lines appeal to either utility offering something useful or curiosity offering something intriguing, but rarely both. The Twitter pitch. This forces conciseness. The best ones ask questions or offer useful information and links. The Pixar pitch. Every Pixar movie follows a simple, 6-sentence narrative structure. Once upon a time underscore. Every day underscore. One day underscore. Because of that underscore. Because of that underscore. Until finally underscore. This structure is a powerful and persuasive way to tell any story. But what happens when your pitch goes awry? That's when you need to improvise. Just like in improv theater, the key is not to have a perfect script, but to have a set of principles. First, hear offers. What sounds like an objection is often an offer in disguise. If someone says, "I can't afford that right now," they're not just saying no. Right now is an offer. Listen without listening for anything, and you'll hear possibilities you would have missed. Second, say yes, and, instead of yes, but, shuts down a conversation. Yes, and, builds on it and opens up possibilities. It's a tool for collaboration, not confrontation. Third, make your partner look good. This is the improv version of win-win. Instead of trying to defeat the other person, your goal is to help them shine. When you do that, you both create a better outcome. Finally, we arrive at the highest and most important skill: to serve. The old model of sales was about a transaction. The new model is about service, in the deepest sense of the word, improving others' lives, and in turn, improving the world. This requires two things. First, make it personal. He tells the incredible story of a study where radiologists were shown a patient's photograph alongside their CT scan. When the photo was present, the radiologists were more empathetic, more meticulous, and their diagnostic accuracy increased dramatically. Seeing the human being behind the case file transformed their performance. Service is about moving beyond solving a puzzle to serving a person. Second, make it purposeful. We are not just motivated by self-interest, we are deeply moved by the desire to contribute to something larger than ourselves. In another study, signs were placed in a hospital to encourage hand-washing. One sign said, "Hand hygiene prevents you from catching diseases." The other said, "Hand hygiene prevents patients from catching diseases." The second sign, the one that appealed to purpose, was vastly more effective. This leads to Pink's final, beautiful idea: servant selling. It's the belief that those who move others are not manipulators, but servants. They serve first and sell later. And the ultimate test is this: if the person you're selling to agrees to buy, will their life be better? When your interaction is over, will the world be a better place? If the answer is yes, then you're not just selling. You're doing something noble. You're honoring the most decent and creative parts of our nature. You're proving, once and for all, that to sell is human. Commentary. When you first hear the idea that we're all in sales now, it can be a little unsettling. It might conjure up images of forced smiles and awkward phone calls. But as we've journeyed through Daniel Pink's work, I hope you see it for what it truly is: an incredibly empowering and optimistic view of the human condition. What Pink has done is reclaim the word selling from the dusty, disreputable corners of the marketplace and place it back where it belongs, at the very center of our lives. He reminds us that moving others is not fundamentally about transactions or commissions. It's about connection. It's about understanding. It's about helping someone else see a new possibility, solve a hidden problem, or improve their life, even in a small way. For someone your age, on the cusp of building a life and a career, this idea is a superpower. Every day, you are moving others. You're persuading a teacher to give you an extension on a paper. You're convincing your friends which movie to see. You're pitching your parents on why you should be able to borrow the car. Soon, you'll be pitching a college admissions officer on why you belong at their school, and an employer on why you're the right person for the job. This book gives you the tools to do all of that, not by being pushy or slick, but by being more attuned, more resilient, and more clear. In other words, by being more human. The principles of attunement, buoyancy, and clarity are not just sales tactics, they are life skills. Learning to see from another's perspective, to stay afloat in the face of setbacks, and to bring clarity to confusing situations will serve you in every single area of your life. The most powerful lesson, for me, is the shift from a mindset of winning to a mindset of serving. The idea that you should always make your partner look good is revolutionary. It reframes every interaction, not as a battle to be won, but as a collaboration waiting to happen. It suggests that the path to achieving your own goals runs directly through helping others achieve theirs. That's a beautiful and profoundly effective way to move through the world. So, how can you start putting these ideas into practice today? Here are 3 simple actions you can take. First, the next time you face a difficult or intimidating task, try interrogative self-talk. Instead of telling yourself you can do it, ask yourself, "Can I do this?" And then take a minute to actually answer the question. List the reasons why you can. You'll be surprised at how this small shift primes you for success. Second, pick an idea or a project you care about, and try to explain it using the Pixar pitch. Forcing yourself to fit your story into that simple, 6-sentence structure will bring an incredible amount of clarity to your own thinking and make it far more compelling to others. And third, in your very next conversation where a disagreement arises, make a conscious effort to respond with yes, and, instead of yes, but, see how it changes the dynamic. See how it opens up possibilities instead of shutting them down. It's a small change in language that can lead to a huge change in your relationships. That was a summary of To Sell is Human by Daniel H. Pink. We've explored the core landscape of this remarkable book today, but I'll be honest with you, a summary is like looking at a travel brochure. It can show you the beautiful pictures, but it can't give you the feeling of the sun on your skin or the scent of the ocean air. The real magic happens when you read the book for yourself. It's in the quiet moments, when a particular story or a simple phrase connects with you in a way you didn't expect. This summary is designed to help you decide if this journey is worth your time. If anything we've talked about today has sparked your curiosity, I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning, it's an experience that can genuinely change the way you see yourself and your place in the world. A link to the book is in the description. Also, if you found this summary valuable and it helped you understand these powerful ideas, please consider liking and subscribing. It tells us we're on the right track and ensures you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book. Let's keep growing together.